working on an F150. This is a 2005, and it's got the 5.4 liter engine on it. So the owner complaint is that you get a clicking noise. She said it was something like the air filter was missing. It's her best guess. As I drive it, as I say, you can tell it's coming from the outside. And when it makes a noise is you have to be moving and you have to rev it. So say I'm in park and I rev it, there's no noise. I'm in neutral, notice I'm 0 miles an hour, no noise. But if I put it in drive and the wheels are rolling and I stomp on the gas, I get a clicking noise, or what people call a ratcheting noise. And it makes a difference where my foot is on the accelerator. If I slightly accelerate, like just a little, I don't get it. But if I bury it, then I get the noise. I didn't mention this, and I should, but it's a 4-wheel drive truck. And whenever the vacuum gets below a certain threshold, it starts to engage at the hub or at the wheel. So what's happening is the more that you open the butterfly, the lower the vacuum is. And if you open wide open throttle, vacuum drops to almost 0 for just a second. There it is. It's like a little rattlesnake. Ah, rattlesnake! What that is there's not enough vacuum to hold it back from engaging in 4-wheel drive. And that's usually because of a vacuum leak, either at the boot or the line or something like that. So that's what we're gonna look into. It'll probably be a quick, easy fix. And they want me to do a fuel filter too. So we'll do that. So as we look under the hood, we have to recognize where vacuum comes from to start with. It comes at the intake manifold. It's the resistance, basically by the throttle butterfly, as we mentioned before, that kind of creates it in the vacuum manifold. So somewhere after the throttle body, you'll find vacuum lines. The throttle body's here, and then you see this vacuum hose here that goes down around the backside and comes up around here. So there's this vacuum line that goes down here. You want to check these connections down here and make sure that you got good vacuum there, and then just any other vacuum hose. And right out the gate, what do we find? A broken vacuum line. So that was a quick diagnosis. If you know where to look. The first place I looked before getting out the camera, I didn't find that yet. I actually did find that live on camera as I looked on this side. I checked this vacuum line that goes back in around here. There was nothing there. The other vacuum line I looked at is, of course, the obvious one here. It goes up and around, and it just goes to your PCV, or positive crankcase ventilation. One thing we could do is just right out the gate, cork it off and see if that takes care of it. This one probably, there's probably another problem with the HVAC system that's not been reported. But some vacuum control for that. I have to get in there and see where that one's supposed to go. So I'm ventilating the exhaust so I don't asphyxiate myself. And I have a vacuum pump hooked up to the disconnected end there. And it's holding vacuum pretty good. When I plugged it in, it just sat at 0. So this would be the slave end, or the end that does the work. And if I pump it up, it pretty well stays put. I think it just goes down to one side goes to one wheel transfer case or axle, and vice versa. But at any rate, it's missing the supply side, so I started up and I'm listening to see if I can hear the other end hissing, but I don't. We got a vacuum switching valve here, and I'm not seeing a whole lot off of that. When I reach down, I can feel there's a T, and one goes one way and one goes the other way, so I think it's on the other side of that, but I'll just have to work that out. Ideally, you'd have a vacuum thing on the emissions tag. You see this vacuum diagram, but it's not very detailed. It goes into detail about the evap system, but that's about it. It shows main vac to a little check valve, and then it also shows the PCV hose. So I'm thinking the 4-wheel drive is this little guy, but it doesn't show where the 4-wheel drive goes outside of that. I'll do a little hunt and see what I can find. For the life of me, I can't find where this end here is missing from. But I look down, I see more vacuum lines down here. I get down in the wheel well, and every so often I could hear a hissing sound. And so I grab these to see if I can track it down. And you hear that hissing stop. There's the vacuum leak right there. If you look closely, you can see there's a chafing in that vacuum hose where it's chafing on the fender well. And this fender well, just for reference, is on the passenger side North America. But anyway, there's our problem. So I'm going to patch that up by cutting the hose and putting a small piece of hose splice in there. Then we're going to test drive it again and see where we're at. A fair question is, if you have a hose like this and it's got a chafe mark in it, what do? Well, the first thing you do, say this is where my chafe mark is, you cut out that chafe mark, just cut on both sides of it so that it's gone, and then you take a small piece of rubber hose. And some people debate whether you should silicone or use rubber cement or whatever the case may be, and I say go ahead and use it, but never put it on here or on this end. Put it behind this end just a little bit of rubber cement, and then slide the hose on till it meets it. Same thing, put it on behind. You can cut it at an angle and make it pointy like this, and then put it in, and then let it seal that way. And that's how you repair it. So that's what we're going to do here. So here's where the leak is. So we'll pull it out of the loom a little bit. You can hear the change. We'll just clip that right here. Right here. But the cleaner it is, the better your seal you'll have. The only hard part is if anybody wants to take it apart later, they're screwed. You see, there's no way my glue is going to block the hole or block the vacuum. It's just set back behind to where when I get to it, it'll seal to it. Take this guy, put it on the clean bit of hose, just kind of twist it on there, and then repeat the same process on the other one. Bear in mind I'm working through a wheel well, so I may bump the camera a little. You don't have to get it perfectly around, you just have to get it close enough and then spin your patch. If you don't use any glue at all, it'll probably be fine, but it's best if you seal it in. As always, there's more than one way to skin a cat, so if somebody does it differently, don't go barking at them. I saw you have to do it this way and you have to use glue. No, you don't, but it's a good practice. You'll also find that this little patch does a much better job against abrasion than the plastic does. All right, well, let's try it out. All right, fuel filter's in, and I got the vacuum leak fixed. Let's see what she does. So far, no noise, and got to the ground. No clicking. Still no clicking, so we're in good shape.
Thanks for watching Ryan's Mobile One.
Duck's having trouble.
That was ugly.